The Lucy Craft Laney Museum of Black History, in partnership with the Augusta Convention and Visitors Bureau, is pleased to present the past, present, and future of the civil rights movement in Augusta, Georgia.
The keystone of any democratic society is the electoral process. So in that way, I don't see so much of a problem as there being a lack of Black elected officials. I will always go back to there being a lack of Black participation overall in the electoral process. It's very important that people, because we are, America in particular, we are of the people, by the people, for the people. So the people have to always know that their voice is number one, their needs are number one, and our elected officials are there to serve them. So the steps that we need to take, number one, folks need to be registered to vote, so we need to come up with as many creative opportunities as we can to enroll voters. Then they need to get to the polls. If there's a need for a runoff election, we need to get those folks back to the polls. And then we need to participate in our local municipal meetings that occur so we can hear firsthand rather than maybe just by the media was actually being said, and we can ask questions on the spot. And we also need to let our officials know what we need. One of the easiest ways to do that is by building neighborhood associations. So we need to have what I call a front door participation and policy, that each person needs to feel that they are to be heard and they are important. So that's what's most important, is participation in the system. That's part of the great work institutions that the Laney Museum do as far as disseminating and diffusing information. We've had a very rapid level of growth of historical monuments, but the general public still is not aware of those individuals, those monuments. Our young people need to see there was something there. There can be something there now and also something there in the future. Say, for example, where before we had the Golden Blocks and it had that name because of the wealth and prosperity and the density of that area. Now there are vacant lots and there are no monuments to what was there. So the young people of this generation really have just a tiny fraction of information of the great things that were produced in Augusta by people who were local, native to Augusta. So in that way, historic preservation and the dissemination of historical facts need to be greatly supported so that young people do have this information. So in other words, what our gain is that talent remains here in Augusta instead of creating a brain drain of thinking that they have to go to Atlanta or Charlotte. They need to know that they can be prepared and be contributive right where they are. That's very important. One of the things that we're witnessing, and it's being reported in a lot of different ways about issues current and the future concerning Black rights, is we're seeing a pipeline of discipline issues that are disproportionate for Black young men and for disabled students, in the public school setting and then going into the prison system. Primary to that is that if we have disruptive behavior, we need to go back to the causes of the disruptive behavior and not just looking at who is being disruptive, because that really could happen to almost anyone. We have students that are entering high school that do not have elementary level skills. And so being that the public schools are funded at the county level, we need to be sure our county is making education number one and not making necessarily discipline number one. That also goes back to first teachers. The family, mothers are first teachers. So we need to let them know that the families are most important and be as creative as we can in bringing families and parents into the public school system so that they are also a part of this growth process, and in which we're building citizens, productive, contributive, happy citizens. And from citizens come our leaders. Yes, that's the pipeline that we want to see. We want to see each citizen feeling really as though really they are a leader. They're a leader in their neighborhood, in their city, and then of course on to the national level. We need to have more exchanges between the churches in the bottom and the churches on the hill, and so that you will not have this seclusion. During the times of segregation, part of the beauty of segregation is that you had people who were striving, people who were executives, and people who were middle class, people worked in mills. They all lived together, in the community. So you had the opportunity to see people and exchange. You knew them by name. You weren't just someone passing by in a car. You knew who these individuals were. And I don't see that happening now in Augusta, that we know exactly who the heroes and the sheroes are right in your own neighborhood. And in the sense that this exchange, so that we're no longer a white community or a black community, we're at the point now there is so much tolerance, so much interaction from 9 to 5. We need to extend that interaction on Saturday and Sunday also too, so that our young people, will have an opportunity to see what's different.
For more information about our Black heritage and to see an interactive map on Black historic sites in Augusta, Georgia, visit our website at lucycraftladymuseum.com.